Hello, it's Mr. Newsome here. I'm going to give you a few little tips on how to get started on the drums. Just run through a few basic exercises and a few basic drum beats to get you going. Number one thing when you sit down at the drums, obviously everything, if you're a complete beginner, everything feels a little bit unusual. So my kit here, it's an electric drum kit, but everything's in the same place as it would be on a normal acoustic drum kit. So I've got my hi-hats over here to my left side, my left foot on the pedal, snare drum here in the middle, bass drum, high tom, mid tom, floor tom. And on my setup here, I've got a crash cymbal here, a crash over there, and a ride cymbal. We might not use all of those today, but that's the generic sort of full drum kit setup. So the sort of next thing is when you pick up the drumsticks, it's important to try get a nice grip on so we don't get into any bad habits from the start. So we want to try grip the stick with the thumb and the first finger on the stick like that. Okay, so thumb running sort of down the side and the first finger coming round, and those are the main two that are going to be gripping on the stick. The rest of them we're just going to follow around the back of the drumstick. Okay, so our pivot point, so the way the drumstick is rebounding, is from that first finger and thumb. Okay, so we're not making a fist round. These ones are quite light in the back. Another important thing, try to leave a bit of a space at the end of the drumstick. That's going to enable the stick to rebound off the drum. Okay, so what we're going to do is start out with what we call single strokes. Now, single strokes, all it is, it's a right hand and a left hand, right, left, and so on. We're going to do this on a snare drum. We're going to try to hit the middle of a drum because that's where the most focused sound is going to come from. So it's going to go like this. We're going to try to feel that rebound. So right, left, right, left. Okay, so once you get used to that, you can start to take the speed up a little bit. One which I like to do is a little half time to double time. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. All right, so the next exercise we're going to look at is double strokes. Same thing. This one really focuses in on that rebound, so we can really feel it on the second note of the double. So right, right, left, left. Okay, so we could do that half-time, double time again, but this is a little bit harder with a double, so I'm going to just take that a little bit slower. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 Okay, the next one we're going to look at very quickly is a paradiddle. Now, a paradiddle is kind of a combination of those two different patterns. We've got the singles at the start, right, left, and then the diddle. So para is the singles, para, and then the diddle represents a double stroke, which we're going to do as a right, right the first time. Then we're going to reverse the whole thing, so it's left, right, left, left. Here we go. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left. Or we can also think of it as paradiddle, paradiddle. A great way to get this one into your head is to be able to hear it. So hear different sound sources doing the sticking pattern. So floor tom and snare drum. Paradiddle, paradiddle. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at a few basic drum grooves or drum beats. I like to call them grooves most of the time, so if you hear me saying that, you know what I mean, just a drum beat or a rock beat. So what we're going to do is we're going to use 3 elements for these. We're going to use a hi-hat, snare drum, and our bass drum. Okay, so the hi-hat is basically the timekeeper of the drum groove. Okay, so the hi-hat for the first beat we're going to play is going to be playing 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I call those quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You might have heard them be referred to as crotchets as well. That's fine, either terminology. But I usually call this one a quarter note groove. Okay, so with the first note, I'm going to play a bass drum. So that's going to be on beat 1. Second note, a snare drum. 2. Okay, then the same for 3 and 4. 3, 4. Okay, so when we're counting this out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bass, snare, bass, snare, bass, snare, bass, snare. Okay, so that's our quarter note groove. Okay, you hear that in loads and loads and loads of music, and probably most famously in recent sort of times, Seven Nation Army by White Stripes. It's got that exact drum beat. We're going to move on now and talk about the next groove, an 8th note groove. So there's going to be 8 notes per bar. Okay, so this is why I refer to them a lot of the time as quarter notes, 8th notes, and then moving on from that 16th notes, because it really tells a drummer what we need to be counting, how many notes we've got per bar. And that's very important, obviously, for a drummer who's a timekeeper of a band. So 8th note groove, these can also be referred to as quavers. That's the other name for 8th notes. So an 8th note groove, we're going to count slightly differently. We're going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's what the hi-hat is doing. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so we're going to try put the kick, the bass drum and the snare drum in the same places as we had before in the quarter note groove. So basses on 1 and 3, snares on 2 and 4. Okay, so we'll take the basses to begin with the hi-hat so you can hear what that sounds like. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, just the snares with the hi-hats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Basses and snares. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Bass and snare and bass and snare and. Okay, so not too difficult once you get into the habit of it and start to hear it. Obviously, try it as slow as you want to begin with. 1 and 2 and. So you can really focus in on where everything's landing, what's landing together, and what's landing on its own. So we've got bass and hi-hat, snare and hi-hat, and then it repeats itself. Okay, so that's our 8th note groove. So I'll leave you with that for today. And hopefully we can do some more of these videos, and we'll go into more details with more advanced grooves and playing. But yeah, that's it for today. Good luck with those, and I'll see you soon.